Okay, guys, when we left off my last lecture, we were talking about World War I. I was kind of doing a little bit of a review, okay? And I was talking about the Allies versus the Central Powers and kind of why we went to war. Nationalism and imperialism and militarism and this rivalry between Britain and Germany. And I talked about the French and the relationship with the Russians. And we talked about the Eiffel Tower. Did you catch that?
Valid.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Kids got a good laugh out of that. So I don't know if I mentioned this, guys. On the eve of war, the United States had the 17th largest army in the world. Okay? 17th in 1917. Behind number 16, Romania. So what we did in World War I was mobilize rapidly. Okay? Guys, our Navy was third largest in the world at the time. Okay? The Army, we had 100,000 people in it. And this Army, the United States Army, over the previous months had been chasing around this bandit in northern Mexico, trying to hunt this guy down. He'd been coming across our border, attacking our border towns, and we sent the whole U.S. expeditionary forces down to Mexico to try and get him. You guys remember who that guy was? This Mexican bandit? Pancho Villa. Okay? And we had trucks by then. You know, we have military trucks and all this. We're chasing around this guy on horseback around Mexico, and we can't find this one guy. And you're going to take that same army, and you're going to go over and take that army over to Europe and defeat the Germans. Right. Okay? So guys, almost immediately after we joined the war, 500,000 people were drafted. 700,000 Americans volunteered. Lined up. Gonna go fight. Okay? It's kind of interesting to see if something like that happened today. Now I'll tell you this, and there's a lot of great stories, because we just talked about 9/11, right? And you guys saw that assignment? Some of you have done it. It's due tonight at midnight if you want to do it. It's optional, but it's 10 points, okay? If you want it. It goes in as excuse. You 0 out of 0 if you don't do it, okay? Doesn't hurt you, doesn't help you, okay? Anyhow, guys, a lot of Americans after 9/11 volunteered, okay, and went to war. All right, a whole bunch, okay? So we did, we kind of came together there, okay? So we're starting to build ships, we start draft, we start getting people in, we start training them. We're sending 250,000 men across the Atlantic every month. And the guy in charge of the U.S. troops in Europe is General Blackjack. Anyone? General Blackjack Pershing. Pershing was the commander, okay? Why do they call him Blackjack? Well, back in the day when General Pershing was younger, he led buffalo soldiers in the West against the Indians. Okay, the buffalo soldiers were what? They were African Americans. Buffalo soldiers were African Americans. And Pershing was their commander. So he got the nickname Blackjack. Okay? And guys, we were sending guys over to France untrained. Like, they just got them uniforms and maybe guns, because we're making guns like crazy. This is mobilization. Okay? Ford Motor Company, all these other, General Electric, these other companies start making military equipment. Coleman, okay? Just like with the COVID thing. Ford Motor Company, Boeing, they started making respirators. You know what I'm saying? National Defense Act. Okay? And so we mobilize, guys, and Pershing's like, hey, I'm not throwing these guys into battle until we train them. So a lot of our guys were trained in France. Okay? So overall, we sent 2 million overseas. 2 million men overseas. Okay? So we went from 100,000 to 3.5 million by the end of the war, but 2 million went overseas. Okay? About 200,000 of those were African American troops. Now they served in segregated units, right? We didn't have integrated whites and blacks and Latinos and so forth together. Okay? The black units, there was one mix that they did integrate, and it did not go well. But we did have some of our black units fight with the French, and they were accepted much better with the French, and they fought well. Okay, and so our soldiers, about 1.2 million will see combat for about 200 days. And we're going to win. Okay? We're going to push the Allies over the top. Other things I like to talk about, just kind of bring this up with you guys. Oh, by the way, 1.2 million, 10% casualties. We had 120,000 casualties in World War I. Wounded or killed, casualties. I want to talk about the Air Force. Okay? There is no Air Force at this point. It's called the Allied Air Force. Okay? The Air Service. Okay? Now, we had 740 aircraft in World War I, the Americans did. Okay? 740. We lost 231 of them, but destroyed 730 German aircraft. So our aircraft performed very well. And we got our first ace. You guys know what an ace is? How many planes you got to shoot down to become an ace? 5. Anybody know who our first ace was? It wasn't the Red Baron. He was German. It wasn't Rickenbacker. That was the Red Baron. Billy Mitchell. Billy Mitchell was our first ace. Okay, you're gonna hear that name again. Okay, later on, Billy Mitchell. He's a hero. He's a war hero. Now let me just give you a little trivia. Okay, because this deals a little bit with Wichita. Okay. By the Korean War, guys, we had jet fighters, right? Jet fighters. Okay, so we get a first ace, jet fighter ace, in the Korean War. Anybody know who that was? It's Wichita. His name was Colonel James Jabara. We named an airport for him out east. You guys know where Jabara Airport is out east? You know where that is? You drive past it when you go to the Shockwave thing out there. Yeah, Forum. Yeah. Okay. Just weren't sure if you were with me, Riley. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Lebanese American, right? The Jabaras are Lebanese Christians. Okay, like the Dugans. Not the Dugans, the Stevens. Yeah. Okay. All right. What else? Let's talk about poisonous gas in World War I. Okay. I know some of you guys have studied this at different amounts. There are really like 4 different types of gases they used. Okay. And overall, there's about 1.25 million people that got gassed in World War I, with about a 10% fatality rate. So 10% of 1.25 million, about 125,000 people died from poisonous gas. Okay? They used tear gas, which we still use today. What does tear gas do? It can blind you temporarily, make it hard to breathe. Yes? Okay? Chlorine gas can kill you. Okay? It also blinds you, and it also makes it very difficult to breathe, and it will shut down your internal organs. There's phosgene gas, which again, lungs and eyes, and mustard gas, lungs and eyes. Now, in our brilliant wisdom as human beings, we have created in the years since much deadlier gases, most notably sarin gas, which, guys, one droplet would kill all of us in this room within 5 minutes.
Is that if you like inhale it once or at prolonged exposure?
Yeah, no, it doesn't take long. Okay? That's nasty stuff. Okay? Alright, so, guys, this war is deadly. So let me just give you, you may have heard of the Battle of the Somme. Okay? It was in 1916. It lasted 5 months, and there were 2 million casualties in 5 months. The state of Kansas has 3 million people in it. Okay? Russia had 1 million of those casualties at the Battle of the Somme. Okay? This war, as you guys know about trench warfare, right? Okay? So the weapons of war, the machine gun had been perfected. We now had tanks, but the artillery was much better. And guys, so many of these. So if your history teacher last year didn't kind of tell you what happened was, because the weapons were so deadly, that's why they built trenches to escape the bullets and bombs. You understand? Okay? So what would happen is, you'd be on one side of the trench, the Germans would be on the other side of the trench, okay? And this area is called what? No Man's Land, okay? Have any of you guys seen 1917? That's it?
I've seen it 3 times.
Yeah, I've seen it twice. It's pretty good. Before that movie, it's kind of hard to find other movies that really show no man's land and kind of the conditions very well. The History Channel did, I think Mr. Ferris showed it to you guys last year, some of it, maybe the year before, because we got kicked out. There's a documentary that's been colorized that's pretty good on it. And then there's a movie called War Horse, book and a movie, okay? And that does a pretty good job. And if you haven't seen the movie War Horse, it's really good. The book is actually narrated by the horse, which they couldn't do in the movie. Okay? There used to be a TV show with a talking horse back in the 50s, but anyhow. So what they would do is this side would launch artillery, okay, at these guys, right? And they would do so not for 24 hours straight, but for 48 hours straight, 72 hours straight. Just shelling. Have you heard of shell shocked? Okay, now guys, this is really sad, hard to watch, but you can YouTube video shell shocked World War I soldiers. And they have videos of these guys that have lost all control over their bodies. Shaking 24 hours a day, cannot control anything. I mean, they're just shell shocked. They're gone, they're fried. Bomb after bomb after bomb after bomb after bomb for days. So this side that's been doing all the bombing think now they have the advantage. So they blow a whistle, they come out of those trenches, across no man's land, and what happens?
They get fired on.
They get chewed up. by machine gun fire and artillery. And so now this side thinks they have the advantage. And so they come across. Okay? The weapons of war improved, but the tactics of war had not advanced. So it's a meat grinder. It's a bloody war. It's hell on earth, guys. And we're talking 4 seasons in a year in Europe. So you get the rainy, you get the hot, you get the cold, the living conditions. If you get wounded, chances are it's going to get infected. What are they going to have to do? They're going to have to amputate. It's just like the Civil War, guys. I mean, we were talking about, and times 10, times 20 the Civil War as far as the number of casualties go. We're looking at 40 million casualties in World War I. It's horrible. Now I'm going to tell you the number of dead per country. Okay? France. This isn't wounded. This is dead. France, 1.5 million dead. Britain, 750,000 dead. Russia, 2 million dead. Germany, 2 million dead. Italy, 650,000 dead. Austria-Hungarian Empire, 1.1 million dead. The Ottoman Empire, the Turks, 800,000 dead. Total between 8 and 9 million war-related deaths. Soldiers, 8 and 9 million. Okay? 40 million casualties. Wounded. A lot of amputations. Now I want you to think about this. For Germany, 2 million people, soldiers dead. How old are those soldiers? 18 to what? 25? That's a generation. 2 million of them will never return home of that generation. So all the women that they would have married, those 2 million men, will never marry those men. And then you talk about the ones that are wounded, that come home as amputees. So likewise with France, who lost 1.5 million. Guys, a whole generation of young men never grow up to be leaders in their communities, to work in factories, to do all sorts of things. It's a lost generation. Okay? And there's a daily reminder on the streets of the United States, of London, of Paris, of Moscow, of Berlin, of the horrors of World War I, with the sheer number of amputees living on the streets, many of them not unable to care for themselves. So the horror of World War I will last. The war to end all wars, the Great War. People don't want to do this again. In the United States, we definitely don't want to do this again. We become very isolationist. Okay? We want to remove ourselves from the rest of the world because we don't want to send our best and brightest over there again to die. So there's a real reluctance on the part of many of these countries to go to war again. That's very important. Okay? Because World War II is going to happen. Okay? And there's going to be a real reluctance for other countries to stop it before it happens. Okay? There's a lot of lessons to be learned here. Now, as far as the United States goes, we proved to ourselves that we could mobilize for war in a very short period of time. We don't need a massive standing army of millions of men in order to win a world war. Okay? We could have a small standing army, we can have reserves, and then if we need to, we'll call you guys up. Okay? And you guys will do the job. Okay? And we haven't had the draft since the Vietnam War. Okay? And it's going to take something really big to need a draft. Okay, we were fighting in Afghanistan and Iraq. We didn't need a draft, okay, because we had a lot of volunteers. It's a volunteer army, okay? Any of you guys know who Patrick Tillman was? Okay, he was a defensive back with the Arizona Cardinals, NFL football team. Played at Arizona State, just got offered a big contract worth millions of dollars, and 9/11 happened. He left the NFL and went through Ranger School, became an Army Ranger. Guy, Pat Tillman, unbelievable guy. And he died over there in Afghanistan from friendly fire. He was shot by one of our own. I mean, it wasn't on purpose, but that stuff happens in war. Okay. Now, our government didn't want Pat Tillman to die from friendly fire. They wanted him to die from enemy fire. So our government didn't tell the truth on Patrick Tillman. But eventually word got out that he died from friendly fire. They wanted to use him as a hero. He's still a hero. They're all heroes. Okay. So. All right, good? All right. There's a lot that I'll hearken back to from time to time, but I really wanted you guys to kind of renew the horror of everything, of World War I, so that you know how people's attitudes are as we move forward in history. Good? All right.
What was that 5-month-long battle?
The Somme. Somme.
Thank you.
Yep. So many just like it, you know. I'm going to here, and I'm going here, I'm going here, and there, and I'm going to here. I put these notes up on Canvas last night. Did anybody see it go up? Okay, it's a new module on my page, okay, and it's called Module 17A. So if you were to open your textbook, this would be in there. Okay, this is what's in your book in Module 17. Okay? And this is where we're starting. So those of you that are watching at home on video, because it's not live because my technology stinks, you can pull up these notes while I'm going through the lectures. When you guys are at home, you can pull up the PowerPoints and listen to me as I go through them, okay? I don't know how well you're going to see it back here, you know what I mean? So let me try this. I mean, I've got some good background here. I mean, you can see it a little bit, okay? Let's get some ambiance, right? Get the ambiance going here. We got lights, okay? If you guys want a little more light back there, you can turn on the lamps, okay? All right, so here we go. Return to normalcy in the Jazz Age. Now, I use return to normalcy. There's a presidential campaign taking place in 1919, 1920, and you guys know who our president was during World War I? You remember who that was? Easy way to remember. His initials are the same as World War. Woodrow Wilson, okay? So that's an easy thing to remember, okay? Wilson was our president during the war. His term is going to be over in 1920, okay? And so Warren G. Harding is going to be our next president. In fact, come on. Come on. You guys going to be famous? If you look back here, guys, the first three presidents we're going to talk about are right here, in order. This is Warren G. Harding, this is Calvin Coolidge, and this is Herbert Hoover. Okay? This is kind of a timeline. I got World War I here, Going across here, got some World War II action, World War II, World War II tanks, World War II planes, Korea, walk on the moon, modern, Beatles, Vietnam, modern. It's a timeline. Okay? All right, so Harding's running for president. We'll be talking a lot about Harding here in a few minutes, okay? All right, so we got to do a little background here. World War I is going to create new problems like revolution and revolts, okay? In 1917, Russia pulls out of World War I. Why did Russia pull out of World War I? Yeah, they had a revolution. Right? Yeah? The Bolshevik Revolution. One of the leaders of this revolution was this man. This man. Anybody know this guy's name? There's still statues of him in Russia today. Yeah. Vladimir Lenin. Okay? He had another friend called Trotsky. Right? Lenin and Trotsky and those guys, the Bolsheviks. All right? Now, that's the Russian Revolution or the Bolshevik Revolution, Vladimir Lenin. Okay? And these folks are, yes, communists. Now, you're my foreign exchange student from China? Okay, I'm going to be bashing on communism. Okay? I hope you're okay with that. So I live in a, we're gonna do that. Okay? Sorry. I hope you're not offended. Okay? But there's a lot here. And if you ever want to chime in anything that you know about, you want to talk about, feel free to come on in. Okay? All right. Lenin's Bolsheviks try and topple the government of Russia. Now, who's the leader of the Russian government prior to this? The Tsar. Yeah, the Tsar. Tsar what? Nicholas. He's got a family, right? He's got a daughter. They made a movie, a cartoon movie out of it. Anastasia. What happens to the Tsar and his family? Yeah, they get killed. Okay, assassinated. All right, now, before he's assassinated, there's the revolution. Okay, now I want to stop here on a couple of different things. Okay, this word Bolshevik. All right, what it means is the majority. Okay? Bolshevik means the majority. So this is the majority rising up against the aristocracy. Okay, was the Tsar a good guy? Was he a dictator? Most dictators are not good guys. Okay? You understand that, right? And that's one of the reasons they're overthrown. Okay, to stand up for the little guy, the majority. Okay, so all over the United States this morning, people woke up, took a shower, brushed their teeth, and did what? What did I do? I came to work. Who's the majority? The majority is the working man. There are more workers than there are managers and owners of companies. Yeah, there's a lot more workers, right? So this is the majority, the working man rising up against the powerful, those in control. Okay? And if you know the goal of communism, which is a system of equalizing, okay, equality of outcome, where everybody is equal economically, there's no private property. There's no religion. Okay? You bow to government for authority. They are the authority, but the government is you. Okay? It's like true democracy in a sense. The working man rising up. So, in order to do that, you're going to need a strong man. Somebody to lead that. Okay? And wherever communism has been tried, it has turned into a dictatorship. We know the names. Castro. Ho Chi Minh. Stalin. Mao. We know the names. Okay? Now, who wrote the Communist Manifesto?
Marx.
Karl Marx. Okay? When he wrote this, and I don't know if you know this about Karl Marx, he was German, and he was a Jew. He was a German Jew, just like Einstein. German Jew. Okay? Now, Marx says that this strong man, once he tears down the powerful, will relinquish his power and become just like everybody else, equal. Has that ever happened? It's never happened. Okay? Now, with that, okay, with that communism, the idea of Communist International is to spread, okay, through revolution. Okay? So, that's what Bolshevik means. Now, if you could create a system of pure equality, a utopian society, okay, it's been tried, okay, throughout the centuries. Well, actually, throughout the 20th century. It's been tried many times to use this, okay? Now, what's the color of the Soviet flag? Red. What's this flag down here? It's the Chinese flag. It's red. The color red is synonymous with communism. So if you go back to the 1920s, when communism first starts to take a foothold on our planet, you will hear people calling other people Reds. Meaning, huh? That would mean you're calling them a communist if you call somebody a Red. You with me? So I say red, you say communism, red.
Communism.
Okay, now what if I were to call somebody pink or a pinka?
No?
Sympathetic to the ideas of communists, but maybe not a full-blown commie. Okay? Now, we'll learn this in government class, but when we talk about China, okay, communism is an economic system. Do the Chinese use economic communism? Are you allowed to own your own business in China? Yeah. That's not communism. That's the free market. When you can have ownership of your own business in China. In fact, guys, it's probably easier to open a business in China than it is in California, because of all the regulations they have on businesses in California. Okay, China's not stupid. They know from history, because capitalism defeated communism in the Soviet Union. China figured that out. They're like, if we do what the Soviets did, we're not going to have enough money to do what we want to do. Same thing in Vietnam, guys. Vietnam's a communist government, but they don't have a communist economy. Now, they have a dictatorship where they control you. They can control what you say, or try to control you, what you say. Okay? And there is corruption, where you have to know people in the Communist Party to get what you want. A lot of times. Membership in the party has its privileges. Yes? If you're a member of the Communist Chinese Party, you're doing very well for yourself. Okay? Now, if I say that to you, does that mean that they're using communism the way Marx wanted it? No. Okay? So, the system itself, this is what socialists like to say, is that, I know they've tried it, and it failed, and it led to millions of people dying. And I know they tried it, and it failed, and it led to millions of people dying. But we can do it better. We know how to do it better than they did. Good luck. Okay. All right. So somebody that's a pinko would be somebody that's more socialistic. You might hear that term out there. Okay. So I like going over here. I got a few minutes. Now this, guys, is pretty simplistic. Okay, but stay with me. Okay, this is a political ideologies thing, and they all start with you have two cows. Okay, so when you talk about communism, you have two cows. Your neighbors help you take care of them, and everyone shares the milk. It's wonderful. We're all sharing, and everybody gets the same amount, and it's good. Okay? Yeah? Okay? Socialism. Socialism. You have two cows. The government takes them and puts them in a barn with everyone else's cows. Then gives you as much milk as it thinks you need. So think of universal health care, Medicare for all. Okay? Everybody takes their cows or their tax dollars, gives it to the government puts the tax dollars in a barn, and then it decides how much health care you get. Because they'll be in charge of health care. Okay, that's socialism. Okay? Russian communism. You have two cows, you have to take care of them, then the government takes all the milk. Now what they did in the Soviet Union, guys, is Stalin liked what were called 5-year plans. Okay, this is a planned economy. So the people in Moscow are planning the economy. Do people in Washington, D.C. plan our economy? Did they create Microsoft? Did they create the internet? Did the government do that? No. Okay, that was created by individuals. And it led to a massive boom and change in the world. Governments didn't plan that. So what Stalin was trying to do was plan the economy. So when it came to farming practices, who knows how to better farm? A farmer that's been working on this land for generations, or a bureaucrat in Moscow. So they started turning over the decision on farming to bureaucrats in Moscow that would tell the farmers, no longer do you own this land. You're going to share it with other people. They'll work on that land with you. And then you guys will share the food with everybody. And the government will take what they need. These 5-year plans led to massive famine in Russia. Millions of people starved to death. Government doesn't do anything efficiently. Now, it may do some things well, like the military, but not efficiently. The military is very expensive, and there's a lot of waste. Okay? If you want to look at government-run healthcare, look into the VA system, the Veterans Hospitals, where the government runs the veteran hospitals. And ask the people that go to those hospitals if they would rather be able to go to a private hospital like Via Christi or go to the government hospital. Ask Coach Laub that. Okay? Now, there has been improvement with the VA in recent years. There's some accountability. But, okay, how about bureaucratic socialism where things get just stupid? Okay? You have two cows. The government takes them and puts them in a barn with everyone else's cows. They are cared for by chicken farmers. You have to take care of the chickens. The government took away from the chicken farm. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't work very well. Okay? Bureaucracy is something we'll talk a lot about in government. Okay? So really, guys, the idea of communism and what has become a reality of communism, Marx's idea, and what has become of it in reality are far different. You following me? So the ideology is long-lived, guys. We still have many people in this country that support these ideas of socialism, and it's growing, especially with young people. Okay, and when you look at how much college is going to cost you, and you have a politician like Bernie Sanders come along and say, we want to give free college for all, and we want free health care for all, just turn that over to the government and we'll do it for you. But that sounds nice, but the devil's in the details. And you can't just do a 5-second soundbite on the news and think you understand how this is going to work. There's a long history behind this type of thinking in the 20th century. And most of it turned out very poorly. Okay? So the idea of a communist system, like I said, the Chinese don't even use it. The Vietnamese don't use it. Now, Kim Jong-un in North Korea, their economy is almost non-existent. And that's because they're isolated by most of the world. Okay? So, be careful if you want to go down that road. I'm not going to tell you how to think. You think on your own. And we're going to talk more about communism. Because your moms and dads and I grew up with that. When the Soviet Union collapsed, okay, and our academia tends to lean very far to the left towards the socialist. So they're not teaching you about what's happened in the 20th century with communism, okay? I will. Again tomorrow. Peace.